Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to NewsNation. You want the real on the shutdown? I call bullshit on this who's to blame game. You are being played. Now, there are some real issues here that are getting lost in the noise, but I'm going to send you that signal tonight. You're going to see what's worth fighting for. But this shutdown is straight up BS. It is a middle finger to middle America, okay? Now, how we got here is proof positive that the parties prefer problems to solutions, okay? Here it is, point for point. Now, the right thinks calling this the Schumer shutdown is bad because you're blaming them, right? Not to Democrats. It's bad to the MAGA base, right? Because you're not doing what Trump wants. But the Dem socks, as I call them, the Democratic Socialists, and those to the left of the left are desperate for fighting back. And that's what this looks like to them. 7 out of 10 of Democratic voters say their party is impotent in standing up to Trump. They are desperate for anything resembling resilience. That's why Gavin Newsom is getting rewarded like he never has been before for doing less than he's ever done before with all his silly tweeting back at Trump. But they love it because they're desperate. This is a pure base play. And, you know, for MAGA, they can't get enough of saying no to Democrats. So this is a great play for those guys. It's great for everybody except for all of those who are outside the game. The irony is, all those who see this as knuckling up, you're the ones who are going to get the punch. A shutdown is the most blatant form of refusing to do your job. And they make you pay. Losing salary, services. This is how disgusting this is. Do you know who gets paid during all this? Congress. The unmitigated gall of refusing to do your job and taking a paycheck. Shutting down is weakness. Shutting down is not strength. Real strength is getting it done, not bragging about failing to do so. Now, as you will see, I believe the Democrats have the right problems to fight for, but they are doing it the wrong way, okay? What you are about to hear from the Democrats is not true.
The Republican partisan spending bill that they introduced is not clean.
Well, first of all, let's be clear. It's not a clean bill, it's a dirty bill. Well, that's all a lie. It's not a clean continuing resolution.
Listen, I like Hakeem Jeffries. I think he's got an amazing future. He's got better fights than this. This is a clean CR. What does that mean, by the way? Continuing resolution. Instead of passing a real budget like they should, this just says, hey, remember the last one? Let's just continue at those levels again, all right? Now, that may mean that certain people who should get less won't, certain people who need more won't, but a clean CR means that this is an extension from the last set of, in this case, Biden's spending levels, okay? That's what a clean CR is. This is a clean CR. Wait a minute, Cuomo disagrees with Jeffries. Jeffries must be right. Don't take my word. Take the word from the Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. They say this is about as clean a CR as you could get. Okay, again, it's a continuation of a March stopgap measure, all right? Essentially a continuation of spending levels from Biden, absent about $13 billion. But when you look at it as a function of the pie, it's literally a rounding error. I don't like that. It's a lot of money, but it's a rounding error. Again, don't take my word for it. How about taking this guy's word?
Allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option. I believe it is my job to make the best choice for the country to minimize the harms to the American people. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open and not shut it down.
And that CR he voted for is the same as this one. So what changed? AOC eyeing his Senate seat. Oh, and by the way, brava to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the other Democrats, for working with Republicans to pass a law, hopefully, to stop Congress from trading stocks. Did you see that today? Good for her, good for them. Now, to the meat of the matter with this shutdown. The shutdown now is about what happens next year when Obamacare subsidies disappear. The reason for this is plain, okay? The Republicans didn't deal with Obamacare subsidies. Why? To help with the tax cuts, you see? And they left the Defense Department, or I'm sorry, the Department of War alone. No cuts. They added to them. Why? To declare war on the poor. The Medicaid cuts were the major savings in the big, beautiful bill. That's what got their party to vote for the tax cuts. These cuts paid for those cuts. I know, tariff money, tariff revenue. Yeah, it's not turning out that way. You're going to pay for it with a loss of services if you need Medicaid, which saves the average taxpayer. These tax cuts save the average taxpayer about $3,000. But the benefits are very skewed to the richest amongst us. The top 5% gets nearly half the benefits, okay? The ACA subsidies that they are ignoring hurt the bottom, hurt the needy, hurt those who don't have room to give. It could double the Obamacare premiums for 22 million Americans, and the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, says 4 million may lose health insurance. And a lot of these people are from red states. A lot of these people are enrolled in the ACA. I know MAGA said they wanted to get rid of it. That was just harshness. They had no better plan. Thank God they didn't get rid of it. ACA enrollment has doubled since 2020, and the biggest increases come from Republican states. Many Republican states have a high percentage of their population on Medicaid. They are taking a bite out of their own. Why? Because they are playing to the richest. So this is the right fight for Democrats, right? But why now? This is their last chance at leverage. That's what they say. I say BS. Senator Thune, right, Republican Tennessee, wants to work on this because the subsidies are so crucial to his states and other red states like his. South Dakota has seen a South Dakota, not Tennessee. South Dakota has seen a 90% increase in ACA enrollment. Senator Thune, South Dakota. Again, this is going to hit MAGA hard. So why do it? Because they're playing to the top with the tax cuts. And the Democrats doing this and shutting it down. Now Thune can't work for him. He can't work with them. He can't take a step towards them about this. It's all about which side you're on. So why did you do it? Because I'm telling you, these parties would rather appear to fight than fix, because that's what this binary BS game rewards. You see it in the BS from the new Speaker of the House as well. Listen to this.
Now, it's important to note what they're doing here. They're throwing a fit. They're making partisan arguments. Chuck Schumer has refused to give the extra time. Why? Because we won't agree to restore health care to illegal aliens.
Come on. Push back. The Speaker of the House is talking out his beep. The Democrats can't fight for Medicaid for illegals. The Speaker knows there's a federal law. It forbids Medicaid money for going to illegal immigrants. Johnson is baiting MAGA. It's ugly and it's obvious. Be clear. This is about Democrats wanting money for lawfully present migrants who need emergency health services, refugees, DACA recipients, the dreamers, asylum seekers. Okay? That's what these subsidies, that's what the Medicaid, that's what it's about. Lawfully here. MAGA doesn't even want dreamers treated as humans. Now, do Democrats have room to give? Of course, especially ignoring part of what the Speaker is depending on to make a true-ish statement. How is it true-ish? Because there are certain states, like California, that will use funny money or creative accounting to essentially backdoor federal dollars to free up state dollars for the program of helping lawfully present migrants. Now, Democrats should stop that, okay? It's illegal for federal dollars to go to that population, so find another way to do it, but don't allow a dirty backdoor. Now, before you say dirty Dems trying to backdoor money to illegals, I hate that word, but that's what's used, I will point out the GOP did not totally remove the reimbursement program for states giving services to undocumented migrants. Why didn't they completely remove it if you could argue that it's a violation of the law and they're so against it? That's why I say the GOP and not simply MAGA. MAGA is the extreme right portion of the GOP, because there are people on the right who realize the human condition that we are dealing with here. They're way too damn quiet, but they exist. One more thing. We're talking real money. I know that. I know hard times is the reality for so many in this country, but don't get it twisted. The amount that they say they're fighting over is nothing like 1.5 trillion. This is 1% of Medicaid funding that they're fighting about. Now, I'm not saying it's not real money, but in terms of the pie, this is BS. This is about pushing division at the expense of people, salaries, and services. And that's why the right keeps pumping the numbers. Democrats want to cut $50 billion from Trump's bill to help rural hospitals. No, they're not. They're saying it's not enough. So they want to remove that spending measure and add to it. That's what this is about. Why would you lie like that? Why isn't the truth enough? You can argue for or against that as a priority, but why twist? Division, that's why, and that's BS. Same work with work requirements. Democrats want to give Medicaid, your money, federal tax dollars, to the lazy. This is a real BS stigma, that if you're poor, you must be lazy. The Congressional Budget Office says 5 million are going to lose their Medicaid because of this proposal. Now, they pitch this as waste, fraud, and abuse. It isn't. The program's own estimates show very few don't work when they can. Check it. It's their own numbers. You don't have to believe them, but you should see them. And they show their own estimates. Many more may lose benefits due to the paperwork process of showing that they do work as a result of this. It's a way to thin out Medicaid rolls to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Those with the least are paying for tax cuts for those with the most. And I say that's BS. Again, right fight for the Democrats, wrong way. The Democrats should be making a deal on this instead of fomenting the fight and pretending this all happens now, so they had to act now. The rules don't kick in until 2027. They're doing it now because some of them believe this looks tough. I say it's posturing and bad policy. Posturing on one side, bad policy on the other. You pick a side and you pick a problem. When is someone going to get into the business of better? All right, let's talk about somebody who's got to deal with this shutdown now, okay? Scott Turner. He is the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Very, very important in our society. Does not get enough credit for that. Doesn't get talked enough about in terms of what it does. I have Secretary Scott Turner joining us now. Now, their website, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, good to have you, Secretary, posted the following message yesterday. This is to the official website. The radical left are going to shut down the government and inflict massive pain on the American people unless they get their 1.5 trillion wish list of demands. The Trump administration wants to keep the government open for the American people. The department doubled down using its official social media account to retweet this message from HUD. I wanted to bring in the Secretary. Secretary Turner, thank you for being with us.
Chris, great to be with you. Thank you, sir.
First, let's deal with the style and we'll get to the substance of what this means. I'm not used to seeing naked political propaganda on a government website. Are you worried about this violating the Hatch Act?
No, sir, we're not worried at all. And this is not about propaganda, Chris. This is just about letting the American people know what's going on. But we really need to be talking about how this government shutdown impacts the American people.
I want to do that, but this is part of the impact, right? I mean, when you're saying the radical left is shutting it down and they're doing it for $1.5 trillion for illegals, that's not true, Secretary Turner. That's why I'm bringing it up, because it's propaganda.
Well, you know what, though, Chris, you look at this, and I've heard all the cries and the outcry and people saying this is propaganda, that it's a violation of the Hatch Act. You know, to me, the Democrats and the far left are using this as a distraction to really deflect from what's really important here, and that's how it's been irresponsible actions on the Hill, and American people are being impacted greatly by this government shutdown. That's what we really need to be talking about.
I agree. I'm sure we also both agree two wrongs don't make a right, but let's talk about it. What is happening every day that this shutdown continues, from your perspective at Housing and Urban Development?
So if you look at Housing and Urban Development at HUD, we serve about 4 million families in America that rely on HUD. And so the resources that these families rely on literally are in limbo and in jeopardy because of this government shutdown. You talk about housing authorities, public housing assistance, resources that go to our homeless neighbors around the country. All of these things are in limbo and in jeopardy because of this government shutdown. And at HUD, man, we are really focused on serving the most vulnerable people of this country.
What percentage do you think of people that you serve are on Medicaid?
You know, Chris, I can get back to you with that
No,
number.
no, no,
I
it's
don't
not a
have it off the
gotcha.
top of my
It's not a
head.
gotcha, but is it
No, I
a
know.
significant is it a significant portion, or is it the minority?
You know, I'm not sure. I want to give you a right answer.
I got
I don't
you.
want to just throw anything out there because that's not how I operate, but I'll get that back to you.
Yeah, no, it's not a gotcha. It's just context.
I'm
So
with you. I'm with
you deal with the neediest people, okay? I mean, you've been doing this a very long time, and that population is vulnerable. My argument is that the people that you're helping are being used to pay for the tax cuts. And is that the right priority, in your opinion, of how we should share benefit and burden right now?
Well, Chris, as you said when you introduced me, you know, my job, I'm the Secretary of HUD. And we deal with housing, we deal with homelessness, we deal with disaster recovery. I'll leave that up to the people on Capitol Hill to figure that out, what you're asking about Medicaid and Medicare. But my job as a steward of HUD is to make sure that we're maximizing our budget to serve the American people that depend on the services that HUD delivers.
How long without your services can people go before they don't have a place?
You know what? It depends on the program. And like you said, and I'm glad you said that because that's what's in jeopardy. Every day that this government shuts down is a day that puts the most vulnerable people in our country in a very hard and particular situation. And so it depends on the program area from HUD. But we don't need to be shut down. We need to be responsible, and we need to get together and say, hey, how can we open this government back up to serve the people of America? And that's my focus here.
And you have people in your programs that are also federal employees and state employees. And if they're federal employees, they're hit twice here. They're not getting the service, and they may not be getting pay if they're seen as non-essential workers. So these are tough times, Secretary, and you already had a tough job. I appreciate you coming here and making the case. You're always welcome, Secretary Turner.
Hey, thank you. I'll see you again.
All right, be well. And again, just a reminder, who gets paid? Not a lot of his clients, but Congress gets paid. Congress gets paid. Not who Turner has to take care of, who need the money, who are on government services, but Congress gets paid. 4 minutes and 35 seconds. Bill O'Reilly says he knows what this shutdown is about. It's about dirty politics, and there's just one reason. The best-selling author, the bestest selling nonfiction author ever. Next. You know how I see this shutdown, so let's get another opinion from the big man, Bill O'Reilly. Good to have you. Continued success for the new book, Confronting Evil. What's going on with this shutdown, Bill?
Okay, so here's what happened. You'll remember that the last time around, Senator Schumer gave in to President Trump. At least that's how it was portrayed. And Schumer got hammered from all sides and couldn't leave the House for 3 weeks. So that was not going to happen again, Cuomo.
Not with AOC right there. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha.
Not going to happen. So the guy who really knew what was going to happen in advance, and you should get him on tomorrow, is Fetterman, the senator from
Yeah, I'm trying to get him.
He knew.
I'm trying to get him.
Okay. So he signaled to all of us who pay attention, and that'd probably be about 6 or 7 individuals in the media, that this was not going to go well. And here's why it didn't. So under President Biden, about 15 million foreign nationals crossed into America, many of them, perhaps most, on asylum claims. But they didn't go through the ports of entry, and they didn't do what they were supposed to do to claim asylum. In the Democratic vision for funding health care, all of those people would get subsidies, and some of them free health care, from the American public. Schumer knew that Trump and the Republicans were never going to sign off on that, ever in a million years, yet he brought it in anyway. So you tell me, who's playing the cards in an upright position?
Look, I think there's plenty of dirty to go around, but
No.
it's not.
Stay on Schumer's.
All right, I can stay on
Democrats.
Schumer, but it's not the same as saying, do I think that the asylum rules should change? Yes. Do I think that they're overly expansive?
No, I don't care about that.
It does. It matters because these people do claim asylum, but that doesn't give the right to call the right to call them illegals. These are lawfully
Okay,
present
I don't care
people.
about any of
Well,
that.
it matters. Being lawfully
care about
present
any
is
of that.
different than unlawfully present.
Cuomo, you're being peck-sniffian tonight, okay?
These
What we are
1910
talking
words. Go
about
ahead.
is the government shutdown that the Democrats knew was going to happen because they knew what they were bringing in was not going to be approved by the president and the Republican Party. Ahead of time, they engineered this. Now, they'll solve it. It'll be solved probably by the end of the week. It always is. But my job is to tell the truth.
Right, but that's not the whole truth, and I'll tell you why. Here's a context pushback. So the program that we're talking about here, okay, it does indulge the asylees. You are correct. Now, when they excised it from the BBB, they did not excise all of it. Why? Because MAGA is one thing, but there are many members of the Republican caucus that believe there is a legal and moral duty to provide emergency care for people who are lawfully in your country, even if they're going to get kicked out at some point because their claim fails. So it's not the whole right that doesn't want it. That's why they left some of the program.
That's very noble and probably true. And that is why you go ahead with negotiations.
I agree with that.
What Schumer and the boys wanted was a permanent extension of these health benefits for people here on bogus asylum claims. Now, Thune and Fetterman locked them in a room, and you can give them water every hour or so. Could probably work this out in a couple of hours.
Yeah, but the problem works better than the fix. The problem works better for them, Bill. They're not solutions.
Okay,
I'm not bad-mouthing Fetterman and Thune,
that.
but it matters for the audience to know that they're being played.
No, but you've already gone over it in exhaustive detail. Exhaustive detail.
Yeah, I heard the exhaustive part.
The audience knows.
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope they do, because then I'm doing my job.
And they know that both sides use this. And I don't think anybody would quibble with that. Both sides use the issue.
Well, the sides
quibble.
quibble.
My job as a reporter analyst is to tell you this whole thing was a charade, that the Democrats going in knew that wasn't going to happen, the government would be shut down. Now, both sides are hoping that the independent voters don't hold them responsible. But I'm going to tell you that it's going to be solved. There'll be an extension of negotiations. That's probably what's going to happen. And a month from now, nobody will remember, like they don't remember the other 80,000 times this happened.
Well, it depends what happens if and when there are negotiations. Because if the ultimate chapter is that extending the tax cuts was paid for on the backs of the neediest of the MAGA population, that is not a good narrative going into the midterms. And that's what the subsidies, that's what Medicaid is populated with.
Okay, look, that's all politics, party politics, and the people watching this program can make up their own mind about it. I will tell you this, the Republican Party does not want to spend close to $1 trillion expanding health entitlements. Maybe they'll spend $500 billion. They don't want $1 trillion because the Republican Party is the party of self-reliance, less government, and the party of the Democrats wants to take over the entire healthcare industry. That is the goal of the Democratic Party. And this is just another creep toward that direction. You know that. Socialized medicine is what the Democrats ultimately want, like Canada, like Western Europe. And the Republicans say, can't afford it in this country with 340 million. We're not going to do it. That's where we are.
I get that on that particular issue, but look, it's choices. They didn't cut a dime from the defense budget. They expanded it, and now they're doing this.
They can't.
Of course they can. What do you
We
mean they
got
can't?
No, they can't.
Of course they
got
can.
two unbelievably
They've never
powerful
passed an
enemies
audit.
staring at you.
The agency it's never passed an audit, Bill. Of course there's waste there. Of course you could reorganize and restructure.
I would like to have a robust Inspector General looking at the Pentagon, but you can't cut defense spending in the face of Putin and Xi.
Oh,
what, are
come
you
on.
crazy?
They say the same thing during a Cold War. What did we learn?
Come on.
Russia can't even
Do you
beat
not
Ukraine.
know what's happening
It's
in the
about
South
how
China
you.
Sea?
It's about how you spend the money and what happened to America first.
I just said, robust Inspector General, fine. Dusty, I think, is yelling at me that she has seen enough of both of us. Okay, you have to stay here.
You don't.
But you can get confronting evil free. You already got it free.
I did
You can
many
be like
times.
Cuomo and get it free. All you got to do is go to BillO'Reilly.com and sign up to be a premium or concierge member, and you will get the best news analysis on the planet. We are not Pecksniffian, as Cuomo was this evening. We are a direct news agency, and membership will enhance your life, and you'll love the book.
Look,
Thank you
everybody
and
who
good night.
watches this show loves to learn. Google the etymology of Pecksniffian. I'll give you a hint. If you break it into 2 words, it gives you a great lead on where it comes from. It's an interesting word. Bill O'Reilly, thank you very much. Appreciate having you. Congratulations on the book. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So it's Monday, October 7th. First of all, I hope if you are a practicing member of the Jewish faith, you are having an easy fast. I hope you are not watching and that you'll see this sometime later and that you are praying for us. Pray for us because we need it on this Day of Atonement because we have a lot to atone for. Monday, October 7th, 2 years since the tragedy of that day, the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. And everything that has followed has equaled and increased people's rage. Are we finally about to get peace? I don't know, but you can see the reality in a way we never have before. Why? I have a young American man, an IDF vet, who is serving in Gaza, okay? Why is he there? What does he see? What is the truth? Next. Tonight, the Jews are practicing their faith. Yom Kippur means Day of Atonement. They're praying for forgiveness for what they have done to others and what others have done to them. Please pray for us, my brothers and sisters of the faith. We need it. We need it. 2 years today, one of the ugliest scenes I've ever covered in 25 years. Changed Israel, will change it for a generation, and now it has changed what Gaza will look like for a generation. I want to bring in a young man who will give us what we get the least of, okay? Eyes that I trust on the ground in Gaza, okay? Eli Wininger, his family escaped religious persecution, moved to Israel in 2015. A year later, he joined the IDF, okay? He then volunteered to redeploy and fight for Israel in the Gaza war. Eli said, sitting back, watching, not an option. He joins me now. We've stayed in touch. He says, when I get in there, I'll give you fresh eyes on the situation. I said, thank you, and here he is now. I'm glad to see you safe. Thank you for giving me a look. What do you want people to know about life on the ground, where you are, and tell them where you are approximately?
Sure. So we're located on the Netzarim corridor, which, as many people know, is a long passageway going into from Israel into Gaza, straight to the ocean. And the biggest thing that I'd say, what made me incredibly happy to see as soon as I got here, was the amount of trucks that I see every single day. We're right along, food trucks, 8 trucks. We're right along the border, and we're seeing them every single day, tens and tens and tens of them, hundreds of them coming in without stop. And for me, as like a human being, that's reassuring to see. As a Jew, that's reassuring to see. And I think it's super important for people around the world to know that aid is going in constantly.
Now, you know the obvious question for people. Some will believe you. Some may believe you more because you're an American and you're with the IDF. Some will say, this guy is lying out his whoop because he's fighting for the IDF. So how do you justify your humanity? What do you want people to know about why you should be trusted?
At the end of the day, the biggest reason I joined the IDF is because my grandfather is a Holocaust survivor, and I wanted to make sure that what happened to him never happens again, to the Jewish people, but also to any people at all. And the last thing I would do is take part in any type of genocide. I know that word's been thrown around all the time. I don't agree with it, but fact of the matter is it's thrown around. The last thing I would want to do is take part in anything of that type. And from the moment I went into Gaza, from the moment I first enlisted in the IDF, but especially when I went into Gaza right after October 7th, and again now, it's the last thing that I see. Our rules of engagement on the ground are incredibly strict, even here now where we're located, where there should not be citizens anywhere near us. We are not allowed to shoot unless there's a absolutely confirmed terrorist armed coming at us. And, you know, a genocide would never say that. A genocide would say, kill everyone you see. It doesn't matter, left and right, kill blindly. And, you know, that's why I'm so proud to be here and to continue to serve. And that's why I came back a year later.
I'm sure there are people that you're seeing on the ground that aren't supposed to be there. What would you say the ratio is of people who say, get out of here, I hate you, to help us get out of this and get out from under the yoke of a terrorist organization?
Sure. So far in the last month that I've been here or been redeployed, we haven't had interaction with actual civilians yet. In the next week, we're expecting to have an interaction with civilians. We're going to be deployed a bit closer to the humanitarian, the JHF. And during that time, we're expecting to have more exposure. But for now, we've had zero exposure with civilians, so I can't answer that.
How much heat is there? How kinetic is it on the ground with you and enemy fighters?
Again, with enemy fighters, it's really whack-a-mole. Their strategy is to pop out of tunnels. Literally just last night, we discovered a new tunnel entering not far from where we are, and starting from Gaza and getting very close to the Israeli border. So we're continuously finding new tunnels. And that's our biggest threat. That's our biggest concern that we're dealing with right now.
How long are you there?
We've got about another month here. And then, you know, that's unless we have a peace treaty in the next week. At the end of the day, it's in Hamas's hand to end this. I don't want to be here. My teammates don't want to be here. They can end it tomorrow, today.
The brothers and sisters want peace?
Everybody wants peace.
Today is the Day of Atonement. I hope you forgive me for not getting back to you soon enough when you reach out. I am available. Please pray for us. We all need it today and every day. And stay safe. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Great night.
All right. Brother, be well. 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Now, look, you can say what you want. I trust that report. Show me proof that it's wrong. It's time for you to have your say. 844-968-7720. And again, if you're celebrating, if you are atoning, rather, have an easy fast. Yankees are up 4-3. You don't have to watch right now, so you can watch us take some calls and see if people share where your head's coming from. Dusty, who you got?
Okay, we're going to start with Fran from Hackettstown, New Jersey.
Hey, Fran, what's your question?
Hi, Chris. I have a comment. And a question. How did we not have enough money to run our government with all the cuts that Trump and his crew did to jobs and departments?
It's not that we didn't have enough money. We fund it in periods through Congress, right? Those periods come to an end and you have to negotiate a continuation. They are refusing to negotiate a continuation, in effect, because they want this shutdown so that they can fight with each other about who is worse and who you hate more and what makes you more angry and outraged. And my problem with that is that the tactics are overwhelming the topic. The topic matters. How are you going to pay for those extended tax cuts? Whether they're good for you or not, okay? They certainly benefit me. But how are you going to pay for that? The choice here was not out of the Defense Department, and you heard Bill O'Reilly say, oh, we can't do that now, not with Russia and what's happening in the Middle East. I thought it was America first. I thought we were done with blood and treasure abroad like that. You don't cut a dime from the Department of War when we're not at war, but you put it on the backs of the people who are the neediest within MAGA and on the other side. No good. Next.
Next up, we have Kim from Savannah, Georgia.
Hey, Kim, what's your question?
Good evening, Chris. My question is, with everything going on in our country right now, and it's only been 10 months, do you believe that we're going to be able to make it the next 3 years without this country either imploding or exploding? And then I had a comment.
Let's hear the comment.
My husband is straight on MAGA, and your show and your news channel is working with us to be able to communicate about what's going on in the world. So y'all are doing a fantastic job, and thank you very much.
Well, first of all, send my best to your husband. Just because he hates everything I say doesn't mean he's got to hate me. And look, I wish that weren't the case. I wish it weren't necessary. And my default answer that I should certainly give when I'm on live television, even with the Yankees game going on, they're up 4-3, by the way, you can keep watching, is, yeah, of course we're going to make it. This too shall pass. And every other platitude you've ever heard about how to deal with hard times. But I'll be dead honest with you. The truth? I don't know. I don't know.
Am I going next?
I don't know. I really don't know. We're accelerating in the wrong direction, and we are empowering the richest people in our country. What's the number one problem we have in our politics? Money. Citizens United killed us, that decision. I don't know how we get around it. It's a Supreme Court decision. But we should be thinking about it because the money is killing us. The tech bros are killing us because they are allowed to monetize and weaponize our outrage for profit. And they're doing it more than we've ever seen in the media. Anything that you hate about cable, anything you hate about the New York Times or the New York Post, it is nothing compared to the reach and the manipulation going on social media. We are accelerating in the wrong direction, and I do not know what happens next. What else?
You know, you're helping her and her husband communicate better.
I know. How sad is that?
I know. She needs to help you and me communicate better.
Oh, please. If anybody knew what I have to put up with.
Poor Chris.
If they knew.
Poor Chris, right? Boo-hoo-hoo.
Someday the book will come out.
Boo-hoo-hoo.
By the way, have an easy fast.
Moving on. To Marty. No, Maddie Stu. I'm sorry, Maddie. It's Maddie, Los Angeles, California.
What's up, brother? What's your question?
Hey, Chris. First, good Yontif. And my question is, when Hamas rejects the deal, will the Free Palestine movement finally be exposed for what it is, which is just an attack on Jews around the world?
No, because that's not how they see it. Look, you're in a tough spot being pro-Palestinian, in my opinion, because you're backing a terror organization, okay? And what is their impetus? What is their reason, their motivation to take any deal? They're going to be out of power. They want to avoid that. And they're crazy-ass zealots. I mean, most of them who are in Hamas on the warrior side would just as soon die as anything else. That's the whole problem in fighting them. They're happy with a one-for-one exchange. So, but you got to remember what motivates it. What motivates it is that Israel has such asymmetrical power that even if you don't have a problem with the Jews, Israel has become, one, a projection of America's might, and this imperialistic mentality that might makes right. That's what is, in my opinion, fooling people into be for a terror organization. That is a much trickier dynamic, and it's much trickier to beat, especially when Israel is asymmetrically strong because they've had to be Goliath because they are David. And they're surrounded by people who want them not to exist. It is a tricky situation, and Hamas balking on this deal, if that happens, and I hope it does, and I hope it ends, will not change it. Next.
Okay, next we're going to go to Justin from Rochester, New York.
Justin, what's your question, brother?
Hello, Chris. My question is, so I'm 25 years old, and me and a lot of my friends have been wondering, with the SSA, Social Security Administration, talking about in the early to mid 2030s, the trust fund running out, me and my friends are wondering, is it really worth it to continue to pay into something that perhaps won't even exist by the time me and my friends reach the age threshold to start receiving it?
I don't think it will not exist. It's about what the amount or percentage of remuneration is. If we were to do nothing, it would still be about 80 cents on the dollar, depending on when you're going to retire. And there's such simple things to do. One, there's not even a mechanism to not take Social Security. And if you were to not take Social Security, let's say you were someone different than your situation, hopefully the situation you're in someday, which is you don't need it, but you paid in, why not get some kind of tax advantage to leave the money alone, give it to somebody else? There's so many little fixes you could do that would make a big difference there, that we can fix it. It's just that the problem and the fear of it works better. And by the way, you don't have an option not to pay into it, right? I mean, you know, it's going to be taken out of your check if you're working for somebody else. And if you're independent, you got to worry about your tax burdens. FICA's part of it. But I get your concern. It is fixable and sustainable if you give a damn about fixing versus fighting. You feel me? Next.
One more quickie, okay? Paul from Madison, Wisconsin.
Paul, what's your question?
My question is, will you use your platform to champion the cause of eliminating partisan primaries?
Look, I'd love to. I hate the parties. I hate the binary system. Washington was right. Monroe was right. Teddy Roosevelt was right. Everybody who said it was right. They will only lead us away from one another. Be a country, that is all. But I don't know how to do it. All the people in power are in the parties. You guys all love picking sides. Look at what you reward on social media, which we allow them legally and ethically to amplify our worst instincts for money. 40% of the S&P 500 are attention economy, who want the outrage because it sells, the provocation, the clicks. And the other 60% wants to put their ads next to that kind of stuff. So what am I supposed to do? The money wants it the way it is, and you guys love picking sides. It's like, you know, Jets versus Patriots. So yes, I wish primaries were all open. I wish the parties had less control over our process. I wish we had more parties or some other kind of process. But the people in power like it this way, and the worst of us keeps getting rewarded. And I don't know what to do about it, I'll be honest. But I'm going to fight, that I can guarantee. We'll be right back. The Yanks are going to beat the Sox. Watch Leland Vittert.
Thank you. That is a very, very succinct sum up of why you should be watching both Chris Cuomo and I. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you. Welcome.